Thank you, operator, and welcome everyone to this New Pacific conference call to review the results of our inaugural mineral resource estimate for the Carangas Project, located in the Oruro department of Bolivia. A copy of the news release is available on our website and has been filed on SEDAR and EDGAR. On the call today, I'm joined by our CEO and founder, Dr. Rui Fang, Alex Zhang, Vice President of Exploration, and Carolina Ordonez, Vice President of Corporate Affairs. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that we will be making forward-looking statements during the call. Please refer to the cautionary statements included in the news release and the presentation slides that accompany this webcast. Today's announcement, yesterday's announcement, represents a significant milestone as we progress on our journey at Carangas, an exploration concept that started just 2 years ago. Now, having conducted 81,145 meters of drilling across 189 drill holes, we are delighted to report total indicated mineral resources of 215 million tons containing 560 million ounces of silver equivalent, and an additional 45 million tons of inferred mineral resources containing 110 million ounces of silver equivalent. This estimate not only demonstrates the size, scale, and open pit development potential of Carangas, as we have been communicating throughout this past year, but it also confirms Bolivia's significant gold endowment, which has historically been overlooked and overshadowed by the country's substantial silver and tin reserves. We are very pleased with the results. Carangas is a globally significant silver and gold polymetallic discovery, and we look forward to driving further value for our shareholders by using this mineral resource as the basis to complete a preliminary economic assessment of the Carangas Project by the first half of next year. Additionally, we have several exciting geophysical targets to drill within our large land holding at Carangas. We look forward to testing the idea that what we've found so far is part of a larger mineralized district. Before we delve into the specifics, I would like to take a moment to thank our Bolivian partners, our entire technical team, and independent consultants who have worked tirelessly to deliver this high-quality resource in only 2 years since we began drilling. Turning to the slide deck, on slide 4, this gives a nice overview of where the Carangas Project sits in Bolivia. It's 190 kilometers southwest of Oruro, Bolivia, a major center in the country, and 197 kilometers along a paved highway from Oruro, plus an additional 35 kilometers of flat gravel road to site. And in addition, it's 270 kilometers away from along a paved highway to a port city in Chile. Our Carangas mineral concessions are large and vast. Through 3 different land claims, we have a total of 40.75 square kilometers. Geologically, Carangas mineralization is hosted in tertiary age volcanics. The mineralization is centered around a diatreme breccia body associated with rhyolite intrusions. Metal zonation at Carangas is controlled by temperature and pressure. We have a lower temperature pressure zone, that's the upper silver zone. The intermediate temperature pressure zone, which is host to the middle zinc zone, and a higher temperature pressure zone hosting our lower gold resource. From discovery to resource definition in just 2 years, this slide encapsulates the hard work and dedication of our exploration team to make this a reality. 81,000 meters of drilling in 189 drill holes in less than 2 years. So in April of 2021, marked our acquisition of the project through free staking, and in June of 2021, we made our discovery. Hole 2 just gives you a nice snapshot of a highlight hole, 143 meters at 130 grams silver, and we had the confidence after that discovery program to ramp up to 5 drill rigs at the start of 2022 for a systematic resource definition drilling program. Another highlight hole, hole 39, 152 meters through the 55-gram silver zone, and then importantly, tagging the extensive gold horizon at depth, 535 meters at 1 gram gold. Our drilling program finished at the end of April this year, and importantly, in January of this year, we commenced an IP survey, which flagged multiple anomalies beyond the drilled area at Carangas. And then in June, we initiated our resource estimate, and just yesterday, we published our inaugural mineral resource estimate at Carangas. This slide summarizes what we've got, which is a substantial mineral endowment, breaking it down between the 3 zones. The upper silver zone containing 120 million tons of indicated resource, hosting 171 million ounces of silver and 327 million ounces of silver equivalent. In addition, another 31 million tons in the inferred category, hosting 43 million ounces of silver and 80 million ounces of silver equivalent. There is an additional zinc zone, which also contains substantial lead and zinc byproducts, and then our gold zone at depth, hosting indicated resources of 52 million tons, containing 1.3 million ounces of gold and an additional 154 million ounces of silver equivalent ounces. On top of that, we've got an additional 100,000 ounces of gold in the inferred category, or in total, 12.8 million ounces of silver equivalent. Altogether, the total indicated mineral resource at Carangas is 560 million ounces of silver equivalent, with an additional total inferred mineral resource of 110 million silver equivalent ounces. This slide gives you an overview of the conceptual pit that we've outlined at Carangas. The key takeaway from this slide is the extensive scale of the system as we've currently drill defined it. This also gives you a sense of the vertical dimension at Carangas. You can see the scale bar at the bottom. Our pit goes down to a final depth of roughly 600 meters, and mineralization continues well beyond that to depth. Importantly, at Carangas, as our resource has outlined, over 80% is in the indicated category. Very good mineralized continuity, and we were very pleased with our ability to bank so much of that metal in the indicated category at the outset of this resource, a testament to the quality of the systematic resource definition drill program completed by our team. Metallurgy, Carangas is blessed with fantastic metallurgy as we've currently defined it. Flotation silver recovery up to 96%. Cyanide leaching of the flotation concentrate also yields 96% silver recovery. In addition, the whole ore cyanide leach yields a gold recovery of up to 98%. And importantly at Carangas, our multi-element assay samples have revealed very low deleterious elements. So we're very encouraged by the metallurgical response thus far on the mineralization we've outlined at Carangas. In addition, we consider Carangas to have the potential for further upside just within the existing drilled area. So below the pit constraint, there's additional substantial gold-dominant mineralization, similar in size and scale to the reported gold domain. And this mineralization has the potential to convert into underground mineable resources pending further evaluation for reasonable prospects of economic extraction. In addition, the gold mineralization remains open in the north-northeast direction in the Central Valley, and we look forward in the future to drilling out that additional potential. Regionally, this is where we're really excited. As I mentioned, we completed an IP survey in January of this year, which highlighted multiple chargeability anomalies beyond the drilled area. Importantly, in geophysical surveys, you never know what the anomalies are telling you, but in our case, we've been able to perfectly correlate one with the known mineralized intrusive at Carangas, and our geologists are systematically taking samples at the surface and have identified some important clues that have us very excited about the ability for these anomalies to host additional Carangases and prove out the idea that what we found so far is just one of a much larger district. Next steps. We still got a lot of work ahead of us. We're certainly not going to rest on our laurels after today's important press release, but over the balance of this year, we want to get in and test drill those geophysical anomalies. We figure a roughly 2,000-meter program will do the trick to give us an early indication of what's underneath. In addition, we're gearing up for our Carangas PEA study with a targeted release date of the first quarter next year. In addition to that, we've got a lot of metallurgical testing to go. We're very encouraged thus far with the preliminary results that we've published and discussed, but we still have a lot more work to do to optimize the flow sheet and ensure that we squeeze as much economic value out of this substantial mineral endowment as possible. And finally, we're going to continue kicking off our environmental and social baseline studies. We're now at the point where we've got a reasonable degree of confidence that Carangas could be a major mine one day, and we want to undertake these important studies to continue to move this project forward in a responsible manner. And with that, operator, we'd like to open the call to questions.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. The first question comes from Joseph Raker with Roth MKM. Please go ahead.
Hi guys, thanks for taking the question. So a couple of things. I guess first, on the, let's call it the beneath the pit extension of the Carangas resource, what do you guys need to do to be able to bring that potentially into the PEA? Is it a matter of just figuring out the economics? Is it a matter of modeling, the high-grade zones that it would be more economically viable with a shallow underground? Can you give some context there?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Joe. I'm going to turn that one over to our Vice President of Exploration, Alex Zhang.
So for this conceptual piece, the main consideration actually is the economics of the project. So it's conceptual optimization of the pit. So basically, we want to get maximize the return from the project, or you can say maybe net present value, this sort of thing. But this is just a first stage, is conceptual stage. We in the next stage, for the PA stage, we'll do further more optimization of the pit design.
Yeah, but Joe, it's less so a geological question and much more so a question about engineering and that study. No additional drilling so far would be required to convert that material. It's purely a question of engineering and economics.
Okay, fair enough. And then I have a bigger picture question. Given the magnitude of the now two resources you have on the books in Bolivia, how do you see the future of the company? Like, how do you go forward from here? Is it just more exploration, try to be a project generator? Do you intend to build a project? Do you tend to, sell something? What would be the ideal path forward?
Yeah, Joe, great question. And I think it is important when you have such a significant milestone as this one to take that step back and reflect and think about how this all fits in the much bigger picture. Certainly, across our two main projects, Silver Sand and Carangas, there's still a substantial amount of value add for us. Certainly at Silver Sand, it's getting the pre-feasibility study done, the full feasibility study, the permitting, et cetera, et cetera. At Carangas, we've got the PEA study, we've got the metallurgical tests, we've got to drill the geophysical anomalies and progress the baseline studies, social, environmental, et cetera. Lots of work on our plate, and we feel like since the projects are both potentially highly economic, certainly Silver Sands is from the PEA study, that's value add that will flow straight to the bottom line for our shareholders. And certainly the default path is to continue to add value, de-risking these projects, advancing them from concept further along to shovel-ready status. We think that's a no-brainer, and that's something that we've got the capability to do, and we've been expanding our team significantly over this past year in order to equip us to do that job. Now, strategically, that's also, where do we go long term from that? What makes the most sense? I hate to give you the cliche answer, but we will do what's right for our shareholders. But I've always said that even if that was our preferred strategic path to pass these projects along to a bigger entity to finance and build, the best strategy we can do and how we can put ourselves into the best position regardless when negotiating with someone else is to build our capabilities and make our company as strong as possible by bringing these projects along the right way. And so we're going to continue to do that. And in the meantime, yes, we're certainly entertaining all different options. Certainly these projects, especially Carangas, is a much bigger scale project than our silver sand project. Certainly silver sand is one that at a $308 million CapEx, we can really, we could plausibly do ourselves. Carangas is going to be a bigger project, but I think, in the future, for right now, our biggest focus by far will just be putting our heads down and continuing to drive our permitting process and really getting these projects legally compliant and shovel ready. That'll be our primary focus.
The next question comes from Gabriel Gonzalez with Echelon Capital Markets.
Thank you, and hi, Andrew, Ree, Alex, and Carolina, and congratulations on an outstanding initial resource. You touched on the baseline environmental work. How long do you believe that work will take, lodging the study with the government and having it ready to advance to permitting? How long do you think that would take, say, in the most optimistic scenario?
Certainly in Bolivia, you need to go through both a wet season and a dry season. So as far as the baseline data collection goes, that's a 12-month exercise at Carangas. And so certainly it'll take us 12 months to collect all the necessary baseline data. And then once you collect that data, it's studying the environmental impact and putting forward your mitigation and monitoring plans. So let's say add another few months from that. So we're probably looking at maybe an 18-month process at Carangas, and then at Silver Sand, that process has been underway for a little while now. But specifically at Carangas, I think from today we're probably looking at call it an 18, maybe to give ourselves 24 months time horizon.
Okay, perfect. And just another question, it's a little bit multi-layered, but if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are economic incentives to produce as much added value product in Bolivia as possible. Presumably that would include smelting lead and zinc in country, whilst you could produce silver doré on site yourselves. Just bearing this in mind, and certainly the rapid pace of the development of the project so far, do you believe that the government of Bolivia can keep up with you in terms of your timelines to have that lead and zinc smelting capacity online to help you push the project forward with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I flagged earlier at Carangas the importance of collecting more metallurgical test work. That's going to be a big focus for us. And we certainly, as you correctly pointed out, want to optimize that flow sheet to produce as much silver and gold doré as possible, because we do get that 5% reduction in the income tax rate. In addition, we don't have to incur the transport, treatment, and refining charges. So you're right on the money. That's exactly what we're going to be looking to optimize for, is to produce as much doré as possible to get that tax reduction and as high payabilities as possible. As far as where the home goes, where's that home for this product? That's a really interesting question. I think certainly the Bolivian government, big focus for them is to have their economy bolt on the capability to not just mine but refine the finished products. And the new smelter the new zinc smelter that's been announced, we think would be a very logical home for the Carangas project. There's potential here that the timelines could work out nicely if there is a little bit of overlap or if they're not quite in sync. There's certainly be many smelters internationally for the product to go, but we think you're absolutely right. The more finished product we can produce in the country, I think everyone wins across the board. Us for the reduced taxes, and the state of Bolivia for keeping that as much value add in the country as possible.
Okay, perfect. And maybe just one very last quick question, and apologies if my apologies if I missed this, but just with respect to the greenfield mapping and sampling that's going on with the anomalies that have been pointed out. When do you think you could have some preliminary indications of results from that early stage sampling of those anomalies?
Yeah, great question. I'll pass that one over to our Vice President Exploration, Alex Zhang.
After the drilling, we started surface sampling and mapping prospecting over the anomalous area. So currently, the surface mapping is already completed. At least on 2 of the 5 anomalies on surface, we identified mineralized vein leads. We use XR shot, which give us anomalous readings of silver, copper, gold, and lead zinc. So these 2 targets are on the 1,000 plot close to our drilled area. So we believe that there may be something beneath the surface showing. So in terms of the samples, right now we are conducting lithochemical sampling over those anomalous areas. So the results from the sample, I think, would be available in 1.5 months. But anyway, the XR shot, based on our experience, is quite reliable. So I don't think there will be any discrepancy between the XR reading and the lab assay results.
Okay, perfect. Very much looking forward to the when those results that come out. So thank you very much.
This concludes the question and answer session. I would like to hand the call back to Andrew Williams for any closing remarks.
All right. We'd just like to thank everyone for tuning in today. Management and our communications team are available for any other questions you might have in the future.